Good morning. It's always interesting to see what the scorelines were on a Friday and how and whether you found a winning trade. This looks a humdinger to start with. Lyon and Strasbourg. It's all in the in-play stats whether you'd have been taking on this Strasbourg lead. Desmond 3-3 potentially gettable. It's very early, 63rd minute. Maitland-Niles is playing for Lyon now. Familiar name. St. Pauli, newly promoted and going down to a 34th minute goal. Had they scored, that would have been a potential angle. Newly promoted Venezia going down again. They'll be a little disappointed with that. Oh, Coco getting the 86th minute winner. So a good defensive display from Venezia, but as typifies these, or some newly promoted sides, no lasting power. They can keep it tight, but suddenly they can't take advantage of the 0-0 and get a win themselves. Inter Milan, emphatic stuff. This really puts down a marker. It was tough to quantify Atalanta, having reached, I think it was the Europa League final. Not starting well for Atalanta, though, with an own goal. But this is a very solid performance. And it lays down a marker for Inter Milan this season in Serie A. Obviously, up for it. Atalanta will have a way to go against the big boys this season, despite their European ambitions last season. AZ Alkmaar, was the red card instrumental in this turnaround? No, it wasn't. Van Bommel, familiar name, with 2 early braces. Now, this is a good match if you want to think about over 1.5 goals, because you can delay. If you can get in 25th minute, you might get 1.7, 1.8 for over 1.5 goals, and you'll be out with that first goal because you're 50% of the way there. You're only a third of the way there with over 2.5 goals. So I do prefer, if I can get into over 1.5 goals, I will. Not as emphatic as the market would suggest for Genk yesterday. First half 0-0. Again, a possibility if you lay in that draw second half, dependent on the in-play stats for Genk, or for both teams. Only the one shot on target in the first half, bit off-putting. 7 shots off, and only no corners. So, not most compelling stats on the planet, are they? Second half, fast improvement. 4 shots on target, 3 off. But still, 0 corners. I don't think I've seen a match like this for a very long time. Only 1 corner throughout the whole match. Wow. And there they are again, my close showbiz pals, Odense. I think would have been a prime opportunity for over 1.5 goals after the first 20 minutes or so, given an apparent reputation for goals from Odense. So this is something I'm formulating. Hopefully we can continue talking about it in the live chat webinar, which is for members only today. Luton and QPR. It's a poor start for Luton Town. Another London derby-ish. But yet again, an own goal scuppering them. Good response from QPR would have been alerted to via any improvement in-play stats. But it looked a very equal match yesterday. Very equal indeed on all counts. Apart from the second half, well, still equal. 4 shots and 3 shots. So I'm not sure how we could have unpacked that to get a QPR equaliser. English Premier League 2. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 2.5 goals. 2 of them over 1.5 goals. This is a league with a reputation for goals, isn't it? Ordinarily. You'll be on the right side, particularly with the Professional Development League. Look at this for over 2.5 goals. Wow, it's even more impressive. Well, if you're looking for matches or if you're looking to lessen your workload, head immediately for the shorties. Here, We've got an opening goal for Norris McWhirter at Longford. Ronan Keating from Boyzone getting the equaliser for Cork City. Sean Maguire, the snooker player, getting the second goal for Cork City. So plenty to work with there. You could have taken on that second Longford 1-2 win and the first. And indeed the Desmond late on, as Sean Maguire makes it a win. So if you're at all worried about too much work, stick to shorties, star them and have them waiting in the My Games facility. That way you can immediately alert yourself to the most likeliest winners. And if they're getting a spot of bother like you saw yesterday, off we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 2.5 goals yesterday in the Eredivisie. So we're getting an idea now, aren't we? At least from a league perspective. Eredivisie, Professional Development League, English Premier League 2. Good staple diets for over 2.5 goals. And by extension, if you can get on over 1.5 goals, you'd have got all bar one yesterday. So it's very recommended if you can find a way to get on over 1.5 goals. On to today, and let's have a look. It's a solid coupon as you'd expect for a Saturday. Arsenal are doing the old 2-0. It's no longer 1-0 to the Arsenal. It's 2-0 to the Arsenal. So that's their modus operandi this season. It's a perfect scoreline, isn't it? You get a 2-goal buffer and still you don't need it because you're keeping clean sheets. Brighton will be mighty impressed with that win against Manchester United. Last gasp winner. Brentford and Everton is very tough to unpack. Brentford Southampton, very tough to unpack. Newly promoted Saints are acting like newly promoted. Everton, you're going to see, I hope, a defensive reaction to conceding 7 goals in 2 matches for the Toffees. And you're going to see Sean Dyche out on his Dyche very soon if this continues. So I would expect a lurch suddenly for Everton to ultra-defensive mode today. So we could see a quiet first half here. 2.5 the favourite gives both teams a chance. Ipswich, newly promoted, at home, question mark. We've seen some of these lesser lights at home really deliver a defensive masterclass. We're talking particularly in Spain, with the likes of Real Madrid held to 2 consecutive away 1-1s. And that's with Mbappe up front, for goodness sake. So watch out for Ipswich. Remember, they kept Liverpool quiet in the first half to a 0-0. Could we be the same against Fulham? Leicester and Aston Villa, newly promoted Leicester. Aston Villa, for me, I just think they've got more nous about them. And particularly with Dick Emery, the manager, unlocking their away goal-scoring ability. So I think that could be the difference today against Leicester City. Forest and Wolves, almost a local derby of sorts. I don't have a strong opinion there. But Wolves, again, one of those sides could be reacting to an absolute battering against Chelsea by being ultra defensive on this occasion. West Ham and Man City, new manager for West Ham. Might see some changes, but Man City have been looking imperious. Even with a tough start relative to their season, and they're still winning. French Ligue 1, newly promoted Saint-Etienne away from home. Marseille away. In the Bundesliga, again, it's a league for you goals merchants. The usuals, Werder Bremen and Hoth, tend to see at least a goal before half-time. We've got alternate odds-on favourites today. Frankfurt, Stuttgart and Bayer Leverkusen at home. Expect Bayer Leverkusen, when they played the big guns last season, tended to be score draws. And they tended to have to come from behind. So do note those 2 patterns. Also note the 90th plus minute scoring goals which count pattern for Leverkusen. That continued in the first match, didn't it? Late goals. So watching brief this early in the season, realistically in the Bundesliga, but we do have a slant towards goals, particularly with the Hoff and Werder Bremen. If it's 0-0 after 20 minutes, you might want to look at over 1.5 goals, which I'll show you. Serie A, Bologna, Empoli. Bologna strongly fancied here today, as is Napoli against Parma, but I wouldn't be as dismissive of Parma, given their recent scalp. Let's have a look. And Napoli getting a win at last against Bologna, very poor against Verona. Parma, 2-1 win against AC Milan at home. 1-1 draw at home. This is their first away match of the season. Newly promoted Parma. So it's going to be an interesting watch. At home, they look to be a force to be reckoned with. But away from home, well, question mark. As this is the opening match against one of the apparent big guns. Derby-style match, Lazio and AC Milan. Doesn't have to be geographical to be a derby. Just very tough to unpack. These two could cancel each other out. Eredivisie. Well, here and the only odds-on favourites there today in what looks a tough opening coupon. Barcelona, 2-1 to the Barca so far. Robert Lewandowski still scoring plenty as well. Newly promoted Valladolid might be in trouble today if Barca continue that excellent record. Atletico Madrid have been very poor relative to their signings. Conor Gallagher and Julian Alvarez and managed a 0-0 at home recently, which is awful, against Espanyol. So it's getting critical for Atletico Madrid. It's really awful start to the season, with Barcelona already 3 out of 3 wins. It's catch up for the Madrid sides. Espanyol advertised their defensive capabilities with that 0-0 against Atleti. Can they do the same against Rayo Vallecano? Leganes and Mallorca has tight defensive match written all over it, that one. Valencia Villarreal slightly favour the Yellow Submarine here, but we never know if Valencia are on the comeback trail. So as I said earlier, if you want to limit your workload, shorties, 1.35, 1.4 or lower. And that will offer you an obvious slant. So if Tirol score, you'll be in with a shout. That's the Austrian Bundesliga today, looking a tough coupon. The newly promoted are playing each other in Belgium today, and I would be favouring Dender, who've thoroughly impressed with their opening set of matches. Tough fixtures against big sides, and they've gone unbeaten, apart from the last match, that 1-2 loss to Ghent. So I would be favouring Dender on opening form. Hajduk split, so close to getting us a 47 quid profit last week with a 1-1 and then a disallowed goal. They look up for the fight, the home advantage, and yet again odds-on favourites. So immediately stand out for me in Croatia today. Sparta Prague, Slavia Prague, and Poulsen, your usual 3 in the Czech 1 League, tend to deliver. So we'll look out for them today, away at Hradec Králové. English Championship, League 1, League 2, tends to be reactively traded. A few odds-on favourites today, and again, if you want to limit your focus to shorties, Leeds against Hull. Leeds, one of those sides who reacted defensively to conceding 3+ goals, and a sudden lurch. That's what I'm talking about with those other sides earlier on in the video. 3 goals conceded, and then guess what? Sudden clean sheet. So obviously, alarm bells ringing with that concession of 3 goals on 2 occasions. Suddenly, they're tightening the ship. Watch out for that particular pattern. As ever, in-play stats will reveal all with today's plays. Don't forget to focus on newly promoted and newly relegated. Similar story in English League 1. Got Birmingham, Bolton, strong odds on favourites at home. The strongest there. And League 2, Walsall is the standout performer there. But they will get the full coverage today, even without any research. Well, you saw it yesterday, so check out the English Premier League 2 at 4 o'clock for the potential for more goals, goals, goals. Hamburg, strong favourite today against Preußen Munster, must start picking up wins. I suggest Preußen Munster, newly promoted perhaps, We can double check that quickly by looking at the H2H. Go before the favourites. You'll see Bundesliga 2 for Hamburger. Could see Bundesliga 3 for Preußen Münster. Indeed. So they're newly promoted. Could be in trouble. This lot have to start picking up points if they're to wriggle out of this league. They've been in it for far too long for such a big side, Hamburg. Remember, Splash on the Brute, Kevin Keegan used to play for them. Big guns out and about in Greece, Olympiakos, Aris Thessaloniki should get the job done. Tend to be very reliable, Ollie. Serie B has been a surprisingly readable league. Got a profit with a Bari equaliser down to 10 men. I think that was against Sassuolo. And we got a Salernitana win as well. They're not playing today. But a league well worth following now. It's got my attention because it's produced some good trades. Well, I hope those of you interested in tennis are having a go at the US Open. 1.01. Wow. This is why I keep telling you to lay these shorties. You're going to pick up a 99-1 return at some point. Unbelievable, Jeff. This would have paid for a lot of lost liabilities. Superb stuff. So they do lose. Unbackable teams do lose. And it's just a reminder to you, you do not back at these odds, of course, unless you're howling mad Murdoch. Got a lay at 1.01, 1.02. Sit back, wave your liability goodbye, but say hello to a 99-1 return if you get it right. Fantastic. As you can see there, this is the expected scoreline. But they do come in as Alcaraz amply illustrated. Caroline Wozniacki continuing on a merry way. She's really recaptured some of her old battling qualities. I wonder how she'll get on against better ranked players. That's the question. Zheng impressed in the French Open as well. So I would have liked to have traded this, but there's only so many hours in the day. You can hear the cat in the background, very impressed with that lay of Alcaraz if you took it on. Another one here today. The Cinnamon playing an Aussie, which is what you want to see when you're taking on a 101 shot. They do lose, so don't forget that. Okay, same with Iga Swiatek. She's lost at short odds, very rarely, but lost. Wazza, looks like she's going to go a little bit deeper. Schneider, don't know anything about her, playing Irani, who's pretty well ranked, I thought. No, 96, the wrong Italian. Paolini, I'm getting him mixed up with Paolini, who's very well ranked, 5th, yes. Irani and Paolini, well, slightly different. So, Alcaraz, did you lay? I've been harping on about laying these shorties, calling it the Yaz trade, because the only way is up, isn't it? Live chat webinar today, likely to be a 2:30 start, but I will be around for the Arsenal-Brighton match at 12:30, and the German Bundesliga, which kicks off at 12:30 as well. Members only live chat webinar today. And if you're not a member and you want to join, come on over to footballtradingprofits.com. Join Football Trading Profits here with the free trial offer. I look forward to seeing you. We're in a good bit of form. You can watch the Happy Dilemma video and see how we try to create you some really good trades with a small loss with a possibility of a big return. 71 quid on Bayern Munich last week, not to be sniffed at. Have a great Saturday. I'm just about to kick the cat in the vernaculars for ruining furniture. And I'll see you at 2:30 p.m. for a live chat webinar.